Okay, I think we are live. Yep, we are live. Cool. So, yeah, close. I'm not going to look into the comment section because let's be honest, too low of a viewership, and I mean, I don't see anybody will be commenting there either way. Cool. So we are live on all the three platforms and cool. So let me just set certain context around this particular streaming. So what we are going to do today is I'm going to first look into this Laravel VS Code extension. It's going to be just sort of like a reaction to so certain things were promised by Taylor, if I'm correct, 3 months back. And one of the things that was shown in that particular live conference, I guess, was the VS Code extension. So I just wanted to look into it. And being one of the front end developers, you can say front end engineer for the last 2.5 years, it's been a long time since I actually looked into PHP, or for that matter, if it's been a long time since I actually did backend. So today, first, after this Laravel thing, we will just, at least I want to just look into the NestJS thing because I am hearing a lot of things about it. So I just want to look into it, see whether I can recall certain concepts, and then we'll try to build something if time permits. And if time does not permit, we will just stretch this stream out to other parts, and eventually we will keep, I'll just keep rolling things out in a way that we do something here, then we will continue there, then we'll continue there, and so on. Okay, so that's the entire thing. Before I begin, let me just arrange few room where I am. Wait a minute. Okay, I don't like the light too much, and hopefully no phone actually come up. Yeah, phones don't come up. Water is also here. Okay, cool. So let's see what there will be certain reactions which I am going to be taking. I think we can look into it. So basically what I have searched for is Laravel extension. Laravel extension. Let me also look one more time. Hello. Yeah, this is fine. Okay, Laravel extensions. So there are a bunch of things like they actually popped up, and since I'm not too much keen on looking into, yeah, this is a keynote. So since I'm not too much into Laravel right now, that's one of the things that I'm planning to do eventually in one of the live stream. That's why I have Herd installed, right? Also, let me just close this. Also close this. Close this. Yeah, that works. Okay. So we'll just look into, I'll be just reacting to certain things. Let's start with this. So this is by, not Laracast, I think. Can you go back? This is by Tony. You can go and subscribe the channel and like the things. It's just that I just searched and here it is. Cool. Let's see what new things are now available in Laravel ecosystem. And I'm just looking into it. So hopefully this does not come under some sort of like a license thing. So Yeah, that's why this is not my video. I'm just reacting to it. Yeah, let's see. Okay, I think it's still in beta, so we are not going to look into much of it. Let's see what happens with the Laravel challenge. So the reason why I'm looking into Laravel is because I actually keep track of the things that are happening in the Laravel ecosystem for the last 4 or 5 months, especially after that keynote, which happened 3 months back. So, and what happened with the NestJS, all that server side things. And I think one of the videos where Aaron, wait a minute, PHP is good. I think that was the thing. Aaron, PHP. Yep, this one, which is 1 year back, right? So I'm looking into it, keeping track of it, and that's all. So, and to be honest, I'm getting little bit interested into things, but it's just the DX part of the things which I cannot leave. How to put it? Can't leave the Next.js ecosystem for some reason. So yeah. So I guess it's still in beta. Let me just check Laravel extension. Yeah, maybe I should be doing some sort of like a live stream for Laravel, like I planned for this NestJS for now. I think all of them might just go away eventually. This is it. Laravel VS Code extension public beta. VS Code has firmly established itself as a go-to editor for developers worldwide, while PHP Storm seems to be the preferred choice for Laravel developers. Many, especially those transitioning from other languages, are comfortable and would prefer to do Laravel development in VS Code. So just let me tell you something. So for example, I do have PHP Storm. Thing is, you can see the speed. It's slow, right? And this is saying something because VS Code itself is slow, because I have tried Z editor and that's extremely fast, right? And you can check, like I have, oh, I also have Laravel, by the way. I was trying something. So let's open this, right? If you check, this is, I think 3-4 months back things. That's why also a lot of things are not here, right? And telling you about the OCT. So let's see. Okay, see this, you can already see how it is like lagging for me at least, right? Okay, this entire PC is lagging. Not just PC, I mean this thing is just the arrows are now, cool. So because the indexing is happening, and that's something which I just don't like. I'm saying that I mean this is good, but for some reason this is extremely slow experience. Now it's working, right? So what most people actually do, if I'm correct, they actually exclude this part and they say mark directory as excluded, right? And then it might actually become fast. But like, so if I am one of the person who is just coming to Laravel, I won't know what to exclude and what not to exclude. And to be honest, I shouldn't be the one to do that because I don't know where the export indexing and things like that will work for any framework. So that's why I don't use PHP Storm, even though you can see. And this is something that I am following, I think Laravel channel itself. So I was following through that only. Okay, so yeah, so this is this entire thing. And so it's not like I don't use it. It's licensed. I have used it, but I eventually will no longer be continuing this thing, because let's be honest, it's so slow for me. See, every click is like slow. Um, Maybe it's just my laptop. So yeah, but you can get the gist why I might not be favoring this, and why I'm waiting for that extension, right? Because I think that will be much better. Okay. And second part is because JavaScript is well built in VS Code, so that's my preferred choice for the most part. All right. So this is everything that was promised way back. Okay. And to those who wants to know where I am on Reddit, this is my profile, code dusting. You can just look into it. I am in these communities. I think these communities. So yeah, let's just stop it. Okay, let's move ahead. So there's some Laravel support in VS Code through various extensions, but a truly seamless and integrated experience was missing. Recognizing this need, at Laracon US 2024, the Laravel core team announced the ambitious task of creating an official VS Code extension for Laravel. The wait is finally over, and we have the public beta is with us, right? A new Laravel VS Code extension is set to enhance your development workflow by providing a suite of helpful features. It offers improved autocomplete, enhanced navigation with click to source functionality, and other tools to streamline your Laravel development experience. It can autocomplete for app bindings, config and environment variables, routes, models, views, and more. Link directly to definitions for routes, models, and config values. Warn if something's missing, like config values or a blade template or something like that, right? So I think I have this. Let me just see. I previously had a bunch of extension. Let's start. So I'll be removing a lot of them because technically speaking, I think I'll just do everything on WSL. Astro I no longer use. No, don't care anymore about this. Let's restart this part. This is fine. This is fine. This is for .edit config if I'm correct. And this is fine. Yep, this I anyways I'm learning, so this is good. This is not much of a requirement nowadays, but I think I added this because I was doing PHP, and with this and one of the extension, you can actually do some sort of like live server thing. Yeah. Markdown material icon theme, if I'm correct, I am not using it. Let me check. What is the icon theme that I'm using? Okay, I am using it. Oh, all right, no problem. MDX, yep. PHP DevSense, yep. You can see this is something that I actually installed while trying to go back to PHP. Basically, just get my last PHP I did was 7.4, so it's been a long time, I guess. It was also 2020. Prisma is there. Ray 1 is there. Temple is for Golang, I guess, and also STMX, Golang, and things like that. Zik language, like, no, I am not interested for now. And this is continue. This is, I don't need it anymore. Let me just uninstall everything. All right. Cool. Okay, I think we can proceed with, I think I can just look into this part. NestJS, inertia. if I'm correct, inertia is something like add-on. I mean, it's a JS library which helps Laravel ecosystem to do the front end thing, if I'm correct, in a better UX end of the things. Cool. I'll look into this later eventually. All right. So now let me just see which, if I am doing the latest or not. It's already there. Let me also just install the latest npm, maybe latest. Let's see what it installs. Cool. Now I have the core pack as this version 9.5.1, 15.1. Cool. And let's also do the bun upgrade. Last time it was 1.1.38. Now it is 1.1.42. Cool. So now today what I'm thinking of doing is just this is a main focus point of this live stream. I wanted to actually stream me diving deep into the NestJS ecosystem. It's been a long time since I did backend. For the most part, I am working on a NestJS frontend and it's limited backend. So there's that. So I want to learn this framework, go through it, read about the concept and things like that. Okay. And we'll try to go and do some sort of like a hands-on thing here. That's kind of like it. And let me just make it like this. Okay. All right. So let's see how this NestJS ecosystem actually works. So starting from this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read line by line for the most part, try to skip if it is something that I know, but for the most part, I'll be doing line by line and try to do some sort of like hands-on. I want to know exactly what this is and how it helps you, how structured it is, and things like that. Okay. And if I'm correct, to be honest, I have worked not in the code side of the things, but as somebody who has looked in the backend code basis, and it was easy for me to understand because I do have experience in Angular, and it is some sort of like the same mechanism if I understand it correctly. So this stream will be just me looking into it and figure it out whether that's the case or not. All right, let's start. So NestJS is a framework for building efficient, scalable Node.js server-side application. It uses progressive JavaScript. It's just a bunch of words, I guess, at this point. Okay, so it supports TypeScript, yet still enables developer to code in pure JavaScript. Why would you want to do that if that is like, why would you ever want to code your big apps in JavaScript? I mean, doesn't make sense, but yeah. Combines element of OOP. Oh God. Yeah, if it's like Angular, then yes. Pretty sure everything will be class based. Yeah. Functional programming is also there, and FRP, functional reactive programming. Okay. All right. Under the hood, Nest makes use of the robust HTTP server frameworks like Express, the default, and optionally can be configured to use Fastify as well. Okay. Nest provides a level of abstraction above these common Node.js frameworks, okay, but also exposes their APIs directly to developers. This gives developers the freedom to use the myriad of third-party modules which are available for the underlying platform. Okay, so it's kind of like a wrapper around Fastify or Express, or you can say it's kind of like a wrapper with common API points for us developers. If I am understanding it correctly, it's common API points for us developers, so that when we have Express adapter or Fastify adapter behind the scenes, we don't have to worry about those independent implementation, because we have only one implementation in the form of Nest APIs, and it under the hood it takes care of implementing those two adapters depending on what we choose. But it also gives us the API points of those two adapters directly to us in case we want to use them. If I'm correct, this is how it is. Okay. So let's understand their philosophy. Also, I am thinking of not doing with the Fastify, but doing it with Encore.js docs. Let me just search for NestJS here. I'm thinking of doing it something like this. Maybe that will be much better. Okay. So in recent years, thanks to Node.js, JavaScript has become a lingua franca of the web for both front and backend application. Trust me, for the backend, that's something that, I mean, it helps a lot initially. To be honest, if you're not somebody who is like scaling to millions or billions of people, the most part, this setup will work for you, right? That's almost 90% of the people on this, or the businesses, to be honest, because let's be honest, the chances that you're actually reaching to that amount of monthly active users is kind of like nil or extremely low. So you shouldn't be worried about the technologies that your engineering team is using, or as an engineer, you shouldn't be worrying about the technologies that you should be using initially till you have certain customer base and there is a bottleneck and you have the money, because by the time you reach that particular bottleneck, you will have enough money to maneuver wherever you want to go. So basically you can pivot the entire technology stack or things like that, and that will be somewhere around a year, 2, 3 in the future, and by that time there will be much better technologies to choose from, or at least the architecture or the updates to choose from. And most likely it might be the case that Node.js itself starts becoming faster and faster, and so that boundary where you need that switch is just keep pushing in future. Unless you are a very fast growing company, then yes, I think it might be something that, I mean, you can switch to Fastify or Encore. I think that's what they are. So yeah, I think that's why JavaScript kind of like won in most basic of sense, I guess. Okay. So this has given rise to awesome projects like Angular, React, and Vue, which improve developer productivity and enable the creation of fast, testable, and extensible front-end application. However, while plenty of superb libraries, helpers, and tools exist for Node.js and server-side JavaScript, none of them effectively solve the problem of architecture. Oh, okay. I think what they are actually trying to say is like Angular solved the architecture problem, right? Angular solved the architecture problem for the front end, but nobody actually liked it because that's too much of a architecture. So yeah, like what exactly are they thinking? Like, I don't know what exactly do they actually mean. So let me just think. And when they say architecture, okay, let's see what it's like. What's the architecture problem in Angular? I mean, I understand the React and Vue part. I don't understand the Angular part. Okay, Nest provides an out-of-box application architecture which allows developers and teams to create highly testable, scalable, loosely coupled, and easily maintainable application. The architecture is heavily inspired by Angular. See, if you're saying none of them effectively solve the main problem of architecture, then you're giving the example that you are inspired by the same architecture. So I think that's the confusing part for me. To get it started, you can either scaffold a project with the Nest CLI or clone a starter project. Okay, to scaffold, okay, I have this installed already. what I'll be doing now is, let's just do that. So first is this, but what I want to do is do it from this part. Okay, let's do this part, because most of the times we will be having the situation which is this, not this. So yeah, so first is nest new learn nest. Okay, I'll go with npm. All right, start here, and then here I'll do this part. Hopefully there's no what you can say, there's no such thing as lag till this point, hopefully. So have to do this. Login sign up for free cloud. No, don't need it, to be honest. It's a TypeScript project. App name, the root of create new application. Okay, why it's calling for application? Let's go with this only. It's not continuing to encode up. Okay, now let's open this. While that is happening, add encode.dev as a dependency in the by running npm install. Okay, so we have to do, I think, this and add. All right, and then add the paths. Okay, let's check. We have this as here. When working on a folder in WSL, we command use window. Yeah, reopen. That's what I'm thinking. No? Yep, I trust the authors. Cool. So now if I have to have a path, it should be somewhere here. Compiler options, there's a path, and this will be the core. All right, like this. In order for Anchor to be able to provision infrastructure resources, generate API documentation, etc., we need to run our application using Anchor. This means that we need to replace the ordinary Nest bootstrapping and instead run our Nest app as a standalone application. We do this by calling nest factory.create application app context app module and then selecting the module services we need. So application context. Okay, do we have application context? Okay, let me also just increase the size. This is fine. I think this should be enough. Yep. Okay. So application context, we need this. The application context variable can then be used to access your Nest modules services from your Anchor, your APIs. I don't know what that means. Maybe I'm just not good at English, but yeah. This sentence doesn't make sense. The application context variable can then be used to access your Nest modules or services from your Encore APIs. I think this is a typo. Okay, define your Encore service when running, okay, as standalone application. Let me just check what this means. There are several ways of mounting a Nest application. You can create a web app, a microservice, or just a bare Nest standalone application without any network listeners. The Nest standalone application is a wrapper around the Nest IOC container, which holds all initiated classes. We can obtain a reference to any existing instance from within any important module directly using the standalone application object. Also, let me just check whether this stream is looking good on mobile or not. Okay. Okay, I think this is looking good. Yep. Cool. All right, so we can obtain a reference to any existing instance from within any imported module directly using the standalone application object. Thus, you can take advantage of the Nest framework anywhere, including, for example, a scripted cron job. You can even build a CLI on top of it. Okay, to create a Nest standalone application, use the following construction. So I do have a bootstrap. There's a Nest factory create app module. It says do it this way: context and application context. You are default using it. Okay, app module. It is also doing the same app module. This is an async function. This is also an async function. So I guess I simply have to do this part. If it's a cat service, okay, let's do this. This is application context. So I will be having application context. I like to write most of them because that helps me kind of like put things in perspective rather than, you know, doing things just copy pasting it. So now I am basically I'm taking, so there's a variable which then has next factory, which then gives me the return value. Okay, so this will be nest factory dot create application context. Here I will have app module, and this will then be resolving to an app, which will then give me a return value of whatever the things that I'm actually trying to pass, if I'm correct. And this will be X default application context, right? Okay, so this takes the services and then it gives back the services as a return, where whatever the service is, which will be apt select module dot get then service with a strict or true. So this is a pattern. So any service I create, I should be doing it here if I'm correct. So access your next module services from your Encore API. Okay. We'll see. This is done. Then it says to start it. Thing is, if I want to run it using the standalone application like this, right, the it's asking me to do it like this. So isn't it like, I don't see this being the thing that will be running here. How does Encore actually works then? Okay. When running an app using Encore, you need to at least use one Encore service. You can define a service in two ways. Create a folder, and inside that folder define one or more APIs. Encore recognizes this as a service and uses the folder name as a service name. Sure. Inside this folder, define one or more APIs. Okay. Add a file name encore.service.ts in a directory. The file must export a service instance by calling new service imported from encore.dev service. Okay, a little bit of a clarification, I guess, for the people who write their frameworks, you can say documentation. When you assume thing, for example, that people will read these 2 points, and this is for most of them, if I can say, even here, right, it's not clear. Like, if I am at this point, it's not clear, or maybe it's just a skill issue on my part, maybe that's right, so there's that, then no need to listen. But to be honest, this doesn't paint a picture like what needs to be done, right? For example, I understand what this happens. If I create a folder, inside that folder, defining one or more APIs, Encore will recognize that as a service. Okay, understood. Then what is this? Add a file name in a directory. Which directory? Is it like this? If that is the case, if like, is this kind of like a named file, or is it something that I can have any file .service.ts, right? The file must export a service instance. That's understood by calling new service. Okay, imported from this. Like, where is this? Like, where can I find this, right? So I mean, maybe I'm not reading much. Also, where to have this, right? Like, if I'm creating a new file for it, how does it connect with this thing for this particular framework? Let's say main.ts. How does it connect here? So that's what I would like to know, right? Or do we not need this at all? This I understood. It requires a Encore folder, if I'm correct. So maybe we can have a folder at the top, but is it like inside src, or is it inside like at the root? So I mean, there's lots of you can say there's lots of issues during just reading these things. In your Nest app that looks like this. Okay, when converting this to using Encore, it would look like this. So basically, find all controller, where's the find all? Here's the find all, and we are actually giving it to services. So now it is saying API expose true method path async promise await application context, which is what we created above, which will give me the scat service because it was returning that particular service, and then it returns me the cats, which awaits the find all of that particular service. Okay. We use application context that we defined above to access our cat service and pass in the necessary parameters. So Let me start with this. I guess I need to do something like this only. Maybe this service should be enough, right? Just to test it out. So I have this application thing. Here I will have cat service. So let's say app service, and that will be app service, right? Yes. Now here I will be returning the app service, which will be taking my app. It will select my service, or I mean app module. It will then get everything from the app service with the strict of true. Okay, before I go further, I will have here RC. Okay, it's already exist. So single quote is true. No, I don't like single quotes. String should be double quotes. That's just how I work. Use tab. What happened? I think that its telesense got messed up or what? This should be false. Tab space should be true. I think something got messed up in terms of TS. You don't have TypeScript or what? Okay, let me start again. Hopefully there's no fan voice that is coming up. Hello. Let me check. Fan voice is available or not. Hello. Testing 1 2 1 2. I don't think it's there. All right, let's start again. I'm not getting this IntelliSense for some reason. Yeah, something just got messed up. That's funny. So tab, no. I think this should be enough. Just do the node modules here, and yeah, that's kind of it. And for ignore, I'll just do the env. It's already there. Good. Now if I'm trying to install Prettier, I guess, add the Prettier here. Packages in, there should be format Prettier, right, and this. Okay, they have it already. So let's just format things out. Ignored option, tab space. I think it's tab width then, not tab space. Okay. Yeah, now it works. Also here I should have, okay, I understand. So WSL has these issues. So let me just go and install all of them. Maybe I don't need this, but here it is. Prisma Ray Telesense type. All right. Now if I do this, now it is here. Okay. So print width is something that I want as 100. If I now remember correctly, there's a reason why I removed this droid sans. It's because of some issues with their font. What about this? Not really. This. Yeah, let's stick with this for now. Okay. So this is here. Make this as here. Okay. So this is right here as static. Only I can click. All right. So that was the case with this. And then I am getting this as service. Okay, defining an Encore service. When running an app using Encore, you need at least one Encore service. To create an Encore service, add a file name Encore in a directory. Which directory? Okay, I think this is too much of a confusion for me. Like I need exactly which directory. All right, let's see. Let's start this first, whether this is even working or not. This should be npm not n start. If I am correct, the start is nest start. This should be the case, not that. So n start def. Okay, so logging is happening out of the box, at least for this application. App controller mapped and this. So if I go to request, and here I simply say http// localhost 3000 send. I will get the hello world. Cool. And if I'm correct, this is exactly what I'm actually passing. Hello world. Okay. Open your browser. This is also there. To install the JavaScript flavor of the startup project, use this as in the command sequence above. You can also start a project from scratch by installing the core supporting packages. Keep in mind that you'll need to set up this boilerplate files in your own. At the minimum, you'll need these dependencies: NestJS core, common, RxJS, and reflect metadata. Check out the short article on how to create a complete project. Support us. Okay, so this is done. Now let's see the first step, because basically I need to know exactly what are all the things in this particular application. All right, let's check. So the first step in this set of articles, you'll learn the core fundamental of Nest. To get familiar with the essential building blocks of Nest.js application, we'll build a basic CRUD application with features that cover a lot of ground at an introductory level. Okay. All right, TypeScript prerequisite setup. We have already done that. And this is, yes, this is the architecture. So from my understanding of the previous controller, service, view, and all these models, is that controller is basically kind of like what takes in the route request and returns the response. Service is what actually does the business logic part of it. And if there's a DB part of it, then service is the one that calls that DB DTO or something like that. Spec is basically the unit test for that controller. Module, the root module of the application. Service, basic service with a single method. The entry file of the application which uses the core function nest factory to create a next application instance. Okay. Main TS include next factory from core. App module, basically our root module, I guess. It creates an application through that. Bootstraps it. Yeah, now I am able to say it. And listens to port whatever we supply in the environment file, or by default at 3000. Okay. To create a Nest application instance, we use a course Nest Factory class. Nest Factory exposes a few static methods that allow creating an application instance. The create method returns an application object which fulfills the iNest application interface. Okay, this object provides a set of methods which are described in the coming chapters. In the main TS example above, we simply set up our HTTP listener, which lets the application await inbound HTTP requests. Okay, so we are setting up the HTTP listener here so that all the incoming requests are being heard. That's it. Note that the project is scaffolded with a Nest CLI, creates an initial project structure that encourages developers to follow the convention of keeping each module in its own dedicated directory. And let me tell you from my experience looking at the code of the backend people, that that's not something that happens. They tend to separate the models in one directory, views in one directory, services in one directory, and so on, which kind of like is a pain. But because if I'm learning this, and this is the best practice, which is instructed by the NestJS team, then if I'm going to look into one of the Nest project, I will be expecting it to follow that for some reason. But that's not the case for most of the times. Okay, cool. So by default, if any error happens while creating the application, your app will exit with a code 1. If you want to make it throw an error instead, disable the option abort an error, application is false. Okay, so any error that happens in Nest, it will exit the code, which is what we want. We don't want this is what we want for the most part. Then we have this. I am pretty sure this is paid. Yes. Yep. Platform. Nest aims to be platform agnostic framework. Okay. Uh, Platform independence makes it possible to create reusable logic parts that developers can take advantage of across several different types of application. Technically, Nest is able to work with any Node HTTP framework once an adapter is created. There are two HTTP platforms supported out of the box. One is Express and another is Fastify. You can choose the one that best suits your needs. Platform Express is well-known minimalist web framework for Node. So this is a package is used by default. Okay, many users are well served with Express and need take no action to enable it. Fastify, and we can have it here. So we install this, and then we simply get the Fastify adapter, and yes, Nest Fastify application. And while creating, we will use this, and then supply the module and the adapter. So nothing else changed, and that's it. Okay. Okay, so packages has to be Fastify equivalent as well. All right. Fastify handles redirect responses slightly different than Express. To do a proper redirect, Fastify return both the status code and URL as follows. Okay. You can pass options into the Fastify constructor through Fastify adapter. Okay, which is a logger, middleware, and route. Okay, so I think it's jumping one by one too quickly because it assumes that we have already read everything that happens before it. All right, so we'll look into it later. It exposes its own application interface. These are seen respectively as Express application and Fastify application. When you pass a type to the nest factory.create method, as in the example below, the app object will have methods available exclusively for the specific platform. Note, however, you don't need to specify type unless you actually want to access the underlying API platform. Okay. Okay. I think for the purpose of, I don't know, I may be wrong, but for the purpose of it being fast and not and be explicit, we should be explicit as to what what the type is here, right? So, or maybe I'm just reading it wrong. As in, the app object will have methods available exclusively for that specific platform. However, you don't need to specify type unless you actually want to access the underlying platform API. Okay. So, I want the exclusivity unless there's a performance. If there's no performance improvement, then we don't need anything else. To speed the development process, you can use the SWC builder by passing the B start script. Okay, let's do that. Maybe here. No? Or is it here? Did it work? This command starts the app with the HTTP server listening to the port defined in the main.ts file. Once the application is running, this will work. To watch, yes, this is what I'm doing. Linting and formatting provides best effort to scaffold a reliable development workflow at scale. Thus, a generated Nest project comes with both code linter and formatter pre-installed. Okay. To ensure maximum stability and extensibility, we use the base ESLint and prettier CLI packages. Okay. All right. This setup allows neat IDE integration with official extension by design. For headless environment where an IDE is not relevant, continuous integration, Git, hooks, etc. Nest project comes with a ready-to-use npm script. Okay. Controllers. Controllers are responsible for handling the incoming request and returning responses to the client. So client has a request, HTTP request, controllers take care of it. They take care of it and they return back the response. So is it only for this and we delegate all the other responsibilities to service like validation and things like that, if I'm correct? A controller's purpose is to receive a specific request for the application. The routing mechanism controls which controller receives which request. Frequently, each controller has more than one route and different routes can perform different actions. So when it says one controller with different routes, I am pretty sure it means get, post, basically based on the HTTP methods. In order to create a basic controller, we use classes and decorators. Decorators associate classes with required metadata and enable Nest to create a routing map, tie requests to a corresponding controllers. For quickly creating a CRUD controller with the validation built in, you may use CLI CRUD generator, Nest G resource and name. Okay, routing. In the following example, we'll use a controller decorator. Okay, which is required to define a basic controller. We'll specify an optional route package path prefix of cats. Okay, that makes sense. Now, if I am reading this, then the Anchor one makes sense where the cat service came up. Okay. In the cats, using a path prefix in the controller decorator allows us to easily group a set of related routes and minimize repetitive codes. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. For example, we may choose to group a set of routes that manage interaction with the cat entity under the route cats. Okay. In that case, we should specify the path prefix cats in the controller decorator so that we don't have to repeat the portion of the path for each route in a file. So basically we are saying that one controller will have the parent prefix and then the below routes will have, or all the methods of it will have different HTTP method suffixes. If I'm correct, that's what it is. So it says controller. To create a controller using CLI, simply do this. Okay, let's start with doing that. We will go to projects, live, or nest, and then we will say nest G controller cats. Okay, so this created within the SRC, it created cats folder and controller spec controller and updated the app module. So if I go to this, it now added this. What's that? Yes, do that. And then here it has this and this. Now I have to do one thing. Let's see how to make the nest CLI use double quotes. To use double quotes in a simply enclose the arguments with double quotes command. This is default behavior for most command lines, including where double quotes are used in. No, that's not it. Yeah, I think if I am going against this, then there will be a lot of errors. So for now, what I'll do is single quote, I'll just make this as true and run the format so that everything is like, for now, it's like this. And now this is a ENSLint thing. So my question is, why was it showing error then? Nest CLI should be creating like whatever the ESLint type is. Oh well, we'll see. So now we have a controller like this, and within that they have a get decorator with a find all. Okay, so now, I mean, this is a class. Without that, controller does nothing. But I can, let's say, have a method find all, which will return, for now it's returning a string, and let's say hello from all the cats, like this. Now if I, technically speaking, if I just do this, right, and I do a get request with http localhost 3000 slash, first of all, let's see whether this is working still or not. Yes, it is working. Now I simply want to have a cats, and it says it cannot be found. But if I add the decorator here like this from NestJS commons run, now that will add a metadata required for that particular method to behave like a route. Okay, got it. To create a controller, it's done. The get HTTP request method decorator before the find all method tells Nest to create a handler for the specific endpoints for HTTP requests. The endpoint corresponds to HTTP request method. I should do this first. Okay, where was I? The endpoint corresponds to HTTP request method get in this case, and the route path. What is the route path? The route path for a handler is determined by the concatenating the optional prefix declared for the controller. Yes, I was right. And any path is specified in the method's decorator. Okay, so since we have declared the prefix for every route and haven't added any path information in the decorator, Nest will map get to cats request to this handler. As mentioned, the path includes both the optional controller path prefix and any path string declared in the request method decorator. For example, if I would have done this, then it should be this. Okay. In our example above, when the get request is made to this point, Nest routes the request to our user-defined find all method. Note that the method name we choose here is completely arbitrary. We obviously must, so basically it can be anything. We obviously must declare a method to bind the route to, but Nest doesn't attach any significance to the method name chosen. I mean, this method can be anything, method name. This method will return 200 status code and the associated response, which in this case is just a string. Why does that happen? To explain, we'll first introduce the concept that Nest employs two different options for manipulating responses: standard and library specific. Okay, I think I should take a few water break, I guess. Just a moment. Okay, so using this built-in method, when request handler returns a JavaScript object or array, it will automatically be serialized to JSON. When it returns a JavaScript primitive type, example string, number, boolean, however, Nest will send just the value without attempting to serialize it. This makes response handling simpler. Just return the value and Nest take care of the rest. Okay, got it. So if I am returning the array or object, it will be JSON stringifying happening by the, it will be JSON stringify response done by the Nest itself. Otherwise, it will be just primitive string response that I'm sending. Furthermore, the response status code is always 200 by default, except for post request, which uses 201. We can easily change this behavior by adding the HTTP code decorator at the handler level. Okay. So when you say handler level, I mean above the controller, if I'm correct. We'll look into it later, I guess. Library specific. We can use library specific example express response object, which can be injected using the res decorator in the method handler. Okay, signature example res response. With this approach, you have the ability to use a native response handling methods exposed by that object. I won't be doing that if I'm using Nest. Since I'm just learning, I don't know whether that is required, but if they have included it, pretty sure there are places or times when those becomes crucial for certain things, but I have no example in my mind where I might need it for now. You can construct responses code using like this. Okay. Nest detects when the handler is using either res or next, indicating you have chosen the library specific option. If both approaches are used at the same time, the standard approach is automatically disabled for this single route and will no longer work as expected. To use both approaches at the same time, for example, by injecting the response object to only set cookies or headers, but still leave the rest to the framework, you must set the pass-through option to true in the res pass-through true decorator. Okay. Okay. Request object. Handlers often need access to client request details, obviously, like headers and other bodies, params and things like that. Nest provide access to the request object of the underlying platform expressed by default. We can access the request object by instructing Nest to inject it by adding the @REQ decorator or request decorator to the handler signature. So this is my handler, and I can have the request decorator, which is coming from next common, and this request object TypeScript is coming from express, since we are using the express. Okay, and then this is it. In order to take advantage of the express typings as in the request parameters of example above, install a types express package. Okay. The request object represents the HTTP request and has properties for the request query string, parameters, HTTP headers, and body. Okay. In most cases, it's not necessary to grab these properties manually. We can use dedicated decorators instead, such as body or query, which are available out of the box. Below is the list of provided decorators and the plain plain platform specific objects they represent. So request is request, response or res is basically res, and this is, I think, a pointer. Next is next session, request or session, param key is request or params or something. So most likely we won't need these two. We can go with this body query headers IP request.ip host params, which is request.hosts. Okay, for compatibility with typings across underlying HTTP platforms, Nest provides res and response decorators. Res is simply an alias for response. Both directly expose the underlying native platform response object interface. When using them, you should also import the typings for the underlying library. @types express to take full advantage. Note that when you inject either res or response in the method handler, you put next into library specific mode for that handler, and you become responsible for managing the response. When doing so, you must issue some kind of response by making a call on the response object. Okay, like this. I mean, I cannot just simply return then. I have to make sure I am the one handling everything. If I am using res or rec, things like that. Okay. I think this chapter is this, so we'll eventually go there. Earlier, we defined an endpoint to fetch cat's resource get route. We'll typically also want to provide an endpoint that creates new records. For this, let's create a post handler. So if it's a post handler, we can have posts. Yep. And that can we create that. For now, let's also do nothing. This gives birth to a new evil cat. Cats are always evil, just know that. Okay, it's that simple. Nest provide decorators for all the standard HTTP methods: get, post, put, delete, patch, options, head. In addition, all defines an endpoint that indicates all of them. Okay, route wildcards. Pattern-based routes are supported as well. For instance, the asterisk is used as a wildcard and will match any combination of characters. So basically, it will match any combination of 26 characters. AB, any of the 26 characters, if I'm correct, if it's an English alphabet, and then CD. And not just 26, I think it empty as well. It can be any special characters as well. It can be numbers as well, big letters as well. Any Unicode character, if I'm correct, then fit. The characters may be used in the route path. Question mark plus asterisk and bracket may be used in the route path and are subset of their regular expression counterparts. The hyphen and the dot are interpreted literally by a string-based path. Okay. A wildcard in the middle of the route is only supported by Express, and I don't think we should be doing that for the most part. Status code. As mentioned, the response status code is always 200 by default, except for the post, which is 201. We can easily change this behavior by adding the HTTP status code, a code decorator at the handler level. So after the post, if I want something else, then it should be like this. Okay. Import HTTP code from the NestJS common package. Okay. Often your status code isn't static but depends on the value factors. In that case, you can use library specific response, inject using res body object, or in the case of error, throw an exception. Headers. To specify a custom response handler, you can use header. Okay, you can either use a header decorator or library specific response object like res header directly. Okay, so it's cache control, no store, and things like that. Redirection. To redirect a response to a specific URL, you can either use a redirect decorator or a library specific response. Res.redirect directly. Redirect takes two arguments, URL and status code. Both are optional. The default value of status code is 302, which is found if omitted. Okay. Sometimes you may want to determine the HTTP status code or the redirect URL dynamically. So we can do that by HTTP redirect response interface. Okay, these will come in advance. I am pretty sure about that. Returned value will override any document arguments passed to the redirect decorator. For example, if this is the, let's say I am getting a docs and the redirection is happening to docs.nestjs.com, which is a 302 redirection. And I'm also getting the query, which is version. If it's a query, let me just check. Okay, this is a search parameters and this is a dash path parameter. Okay. If version and version is 5, then it should be different. So basically the get docs method return will override the redirect default. Route parameter. Routes. Okay, routes with static paths won't work. Where am I? Cool. Okay, so routes with static paths won't work when you need to accept dynamic data as part of the request. To get, okay, get cats1, to get cat with ID 1 won't work when you need to accept dynamic data as a part of the request. Okay, got it. So they're saying that the cats route will not work if I supply cats1. In order to define routes with parameters, we can add route parameter tokens in the path of the route, capture the dynamic value in that position in the request URL. The route parameter token in the get decorator example below demonstrate this usage. Route parameters declared in this way can be accessed using params decorator, which should be added to the method signature. Routes with parameters should be declared after any specific path. This prevents the parameterized paths from intercepting traffic destined for the static path. Okay, so basically what they're saying is, let's say I want this method. Right now, if I do cats, I can have hello from cats, right? This is what I can have. But if I do this, I cannot have that. Basically, because this /1 is not available. So to make that available, I have to first do get and provide this ID. Okay. And then here I can have find one. And then let's just say this returns cat number, and whatever the cat number will be. We'll see how actually they do it. So it's getting this params. Okay, so we are using the params param, and from here it is saying whatever the params is, and for now it is saying this should be any. Then since I have defined as ID, so I will get in params ID, which is this, and then maybe I can say this. Now if I just do this, now I am here. If I say 100, then here. Okay, but I mean there's a chance of lots of errors. So validation is up to us now, right? Or if I just apply it as a number, then okay, validation is kind of like up to us. What this will always be string, that's for sure, because it's coming from the URL, but whether this will be ID or not, I mean if I do it say slug and go here, it is not able to figure it out what I'm doing. So it has to be that above ID only, whichever I'm defining here, and only then it will work. But this, I don't see any indication of any sort of TypeScript error. Param is used to decorate a method parameter params in the example above and makes the route parameters available as properties of that decorated method parameter inside the body of the method. As seen in the code above, we can access the ID parameter by referencing params.id. You can also pass in any particular parameter token to the decorator and then reference the route parameter directly by name in the method body. Okay. You can also pass in particular parameter token to the decorator and then reference the, okay. So this is not, I mean this, and then I can say this is like slug, and then I can have it as slug and can say string. Now it is giving me this thing as slug, let's say. And then if I do this thing again it becomes undefined, because this has to be, basically it has to be the same as whatever the route this is. So if I make it just ID is, this again becomes undefined, and now it becomes 1. Cool. So basically this is dependent on this. If it would be much better if I would have gotten some sort of like intelligence here, or there should be a way that I don't define anything else here, right? Right now it's up to me, and the closeness actually doesn't like makes things easy, but yeah. Subdomain routing, the controller decorator can take a host option to require that the HTTP host of the incoming request matches some specific value. Okay. Since Pastify lacks support of nested routers, when using subdomain routing, the default express adapter should be used instead. Similar to route path, the host option can use token to capture the dynamic value at that position in the host name. Let's see, how much is it? All right, I think I'll just do a quick break. Okay, we are back, but I will be closing this out. Okay, I'll be closing this out. There is some issues. We'll continue tomorrow. Once this is like done, I'll also be in a quick break. I might just stream like cut it out. Yeah, sorry for that. Thanks.